ticket worth $200,000 and told me the only return on investment they saw in me was a diamond ring. My name is Elena Vance, and for 32 years, I was the invisible daughter in a family that treated its sons like assets and its daughters like liabilities. When I was 18, my father signed a check that could have bought a house. Also, my brother could chase a white coat. When I asked for help with my tuition, he sat me down and said, "A degree is wasted on a girl. Your job is to find a husband." So I decided to prove him wrong. I worked 3 jobs, surviving on 5 hours of sleep for 4 straight years. I scraped my way through college and eventually through Johns Hopkins Medical School without accepting a single dollar from my parents. 12 years later, I stood in an operating room as a cardiothoracic surgeon, one of the few women in my field. But the real test came at my brother's engagement party. My father, standing before 150 guests, toasted my brother Tyler as his only successful child. The joke? He had no idea that his future daughter-in-law was the patient whose life I had saved on my operating table. Before I tell you what happened next, and trust me, you won't see it coming, let me set the scene. I grew up in a picture-perfect suburb just outside the capital. Every lawn was immaculate, every hedge trimmed to perfection, and every family had secrets buried beneath their impeccable facades. Our house was a monument to appearances. My father, Harold, was a corporate climber who measured success in promotions and wristwatches. He wore the same starched blue Oxford shirt and wore that Rolex Datejust like a badge of honor. In our home, the rules were unspoken but absolute. Tyler got dropped off at school in my father's Lexus. I took the bus. When Tyler's grades dipped, he got a tutor. When I asked for one, my father said I didn't need to be excellent, just average. His baseball games were celebrated, my academic awards were ignored. My mother attended one of my ceremonies, my father never came. Success was a birthright for my brother, but for me, it was a rebellion. By my senior year, I was top of my class, a national merit scholar with universities courting me. But in my father's world, a daughter wasn't an investment, she was a liability waiting to be handed off to another family. I was about to learn exactly how cold that equation could be. The summer before college, my mother made meatloaf. She only made meatloaf for important occasions. I had just received my acceptance letter from the University of Maryland. A partial scholarship covered most of it, but I still needed $15,000 a year. I smoothed the letter on the dining table, my heart pounding. "I got in," I said, "with a scholarship. I just need help with the rest." My father barely glanced at the letter. "That money is for Tyler," he said. "Your brother is going to have a family to support. You just need to find a good husband." Tyler was 14, hunched over his phone, pretending not to hear. My mother stared at her plate. The silence was deafening. I folded the letter, slid it into my pocket, and said the only word I could manage, "Okay." I didn't cry that night. I sat at my desk, opened my laptop, and applied to 3 part-time jobs. I made a decision in that moment. I would never ask my father for anything again. And I never did. College was a blur of early alarms and cold coffee. I worked the breakfast shift at a diner, pouring coffee before racing to class. I worked at the library, studying between check-ins. I tutored high school kids on the weekends, giving them the support I was denied. I slept 5 hours a night for 4 years. I wore the same sneakers until the soles fell apart and glued them back together. I didn't go home for holidays. I told my mother I had extra shifts. The truth was, I couldn't bear to watch Tyler unwrap presents bought with the money that could have changed my life. I graduated summa cum laude with a 3.98 GPA. I sent my parents an invitation to the ceremony. My mother texted back, "So proud of you. But Tyler has a soccer game that day. We'll celebrate when you're home." I graduated alone. A professor I barely knew shook my hand and said, "You've earned this." I cried in the parking lot for 10 minutes. Then I wiped my face, got in my car, and drove home. That chapter was over, but the hardest part was just beginning. I applied to 12 medical schools. I got into 3. I chose Johns Hopkins, not just for the prestige, but because they offered the best financial aid. I pieced my life together with loans, grants, and a work-study schedule that left no room for failure. 4 years of medical school, 6 years of residency, 2 years of fellowship. 12 years of building a life that no one in my family believed I could build. I specialized in cardiothoracic surgery. The hours were brutal, the pressure relentless. I watched colleagues burn out and drop out. I stayed, not because I had something to prove to my father, but because every time I held a human heart in my hands and watched a flatline turn into a steady rhythm, I knew this was my purpose. By 32, I was an attending surgeon, board certified, published, and respected, and my family had no idea. My mother knew I worked at a hospital, but she never asked for details and I never offered them. I wore my Johns Hopkins ring every day. It wasn't flashy, but it was my proof, my quiet rebellion. Then, one Tuesday evening at 9 p.m., my phone lit up with my mother's name. She only called late when she didn't want my father to hear. "Myra, honey," she whispered, "Tyler's getting engaged. There's going to be a party at the country club." I knew that club. Memberships cost $50,000 a year. Your father wants it to be big. But he doesn't want anyone introducing you as a doctor. He said you should just come as Tyler's sister. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't outshine the golden child. "I'll be there, Mom," I said. I took an Uber to the country club. I wanted to slip in, pay my respects, and slip out. As I walked in, a security guard checked his clipboard. Name? Myra Mercer. He scanned the list, frowned. "I'm not seeing a Myra Mercer." I called my mother, who appeared flustered and apologetic. "She's with me," she told the guard. "She's family." The ballroom buzzed with crystal flutes and practiced smiles. I wore a simple navy silk dress, elegant, understated. My father stood near the entrance, greeting guests. When he saw me, he nodded once, a nod you'd give a distant acquaintance. A man beside him asked, "Harold, who's that?" My father answered, his voice smooth and dismissive, "Just a relative." I walked past him and headed for the bar. That's when I noticed her, a woman in a white dress staring at my ring. At 8 sharp, my father stepped up to the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," he boomed, "we honor my son Tyler, the pride of the Mercer family, our only successful child." The words hit me like a physical blow. Our only successful child. Tyler beamed as applause rippled through the room. A woman behind me whispered to her husband, "Isn't that his daughter? I thought they only had the one son." I set my champagne glass down, steadying my hand. I was about to leave when the woman in white approached me. She was beautiful, but her eyes were locked on my hand, on my ring. "Excuse me," she said. "Do you work at Johns Hopkins?" "Yes," I said carefully. "Are you a surgeon?" The ballroom noise faded. I looked at her, really looked, and the memory clicked into place. 3 years ago, a 26-year-old woman was wheeled into my or at 2 a.m., chest crushed in a car accident. 7 hours of surgery. She was barely alive. "Rachel," I said, her name surfacing from memory. "Rachel Porter." Her hand flew to her mouth. "It's you. Oh my God, it's you." Before I could respond, Tyler appeared, his smile stiff. "Babe, what's going on? Do you know my sister?" Rachel's head snapped toward him. "Your sister?" "Tyler, you never told me what your sister does." Tyler's jaw tightened. "She works at a hospital. Some administrative thing." Rachel stared at him. "Administrative?" "This woman saved my life." Tyler's face went through a journey, confusion, panic, a forced smile. Babe, let's not make a scene. But Rachel pulled her arm back. Why didn't you tell me your sister was a doctor? Tyler stumbled. It's complicated. My father materialized beside us. What's going on here? He demanded, his voice low and controlled. Dad, Myra was just leaving. Tyler jumped in. I wasn't, I said calmly. My father's eyes flicked to Rachel. Myra, this is Tyler's night. If you're not going to be supportive, perhaps it's best if I what? Disappear like I always do? A man nearby, a friend of my father's, cleared his throat. Harold, I didn't realize you had a daughter. You've never mentioned her. My father's smile tightened. Myra chose a different path. She's independent. The word dripped with dismissal. Some children want to be part of the family, others don't have anything to contribute. The air went cold. In 3 sentences, my father had reduced 12 years of my life to nothing. I felt the old familiar heat crawling up my neck, the urge to shrink. But then I remembered, I was done shrinking. I'm not leaving, Dad, I said. My father blinked. I came to celebrate my brother. I'm going to stay, have a glass of water, and congratulate the happy couple. That's what family does, isn't it? For a moment, no one spoke. Then I turned and walked to the bar. I ordered sparkling water. The bartender slid it across the counter with a nod. I took a sip and watched the party continue around me. The forced laughter, the air kisses, the elaborate dance of denial. My mother intercepted Rachel, steering her away. Then she doubled back to me. Myra, please don't do this, she whispered. Not tonight. Don't do what, Mom? I'm just standing here. Your father is already upset. This is supposed to be a happy night. Mom, do you even know what I do for a living? She looked at the floor. You know I'm a surgeon. Why have you never told him? She whispered, he wouldn't believe me. He'd already made up his mind about you. So you just let him? I didn't have a choice. You had a choice every single day, Mom. You just didn't take it. She squeezed my hand and let go. Please, just go home. I drifted to a corner near the floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside, the landscaping lights cast golden pools across the golf course. Inside, 150 people laughed and celebrated a future that had nothing to do with me. I looked at my ring and thought about the day I earned it, the conference room with bad coffee and fluorescent lighting, the janitor who was the only person to congratulate me. What am I even doing here? I was about to leave when my phone buzzed. A text from a colleague, Hey Myra, saw your brother Tyler at a pharma conference last week. He's still in training? Everything changed. Tyler wasn't in training. According to my mother, he was finishing his residency. But my colleague had just seen him at a pharmaceutical sales conference. I searched Tyler Mercer's name online. 3 results. A LinkedIn profile, a company directory, a conference speaker bio. Medical sales representative. He dropped out of residency 2 years ago. My father had spent $180,000 on an education Tyler never finished. He'd been lying to everyone. I slipped my phone back into my clutch. This wasn't my weapon. The truth had a way of surfacing on its own. Rachel finally broke free from the group and headed my way. I'm sorry about earlier, she said. Tyler's mother kept pulling me around. It's fine. It's your party. Nothing about tonight feels right. I studied her face. It wasn't bridal glow. It was doubt. Rachel, how much do you know about Tyler's career? He's finishing his residency. He's supposed to start his fellowship next year. That's what he told you? Why? Is there something I should know? I hesitated. Then I said, I just received a message. He was seen at a pharmaceutical sales conference last week. A sales conference? Tyler doesn't do sales. He's a doctor. Rachel, I looked it up. He works for Pfizer. He's a medical sales representative. He has been for at least 2 years. The color drained from her face. That's not possible. He shows me his schedule. He's been lying to you for 2 years. Rachel stared at me, then across the room at Tyler, who was laughing with his father. Then she turned back to me. Wait, 3 years ago, I was in a car accident. A bad one. They told my parents I wouldn't survive. The surgeon who saved me, Dr. Myra Mercer. She held my heart in her hands. I nodded slowly. When I woke up, she was there. She held my hand and said, "You fought hard. Now you get to live." That was you, wasn't it? Yes, tears spilled down her cheeks. She pulled me into a tight embrace. I've thought about you every single day for 3 years. I never got to thank you properly. You just did. She pulled back, wiping her eyes. This whole time, you were Tyler's sister. He talked about you like you were nobody, and his family treats you like you're invisible. She looked toward the stage. No, that's not okay. Rachel, you don't have to. Yes, I do. She squeezed my hands. I was supposed to give a speech tonight, thank Tyler's family, talk about our future. Instead, I'm going to tell the truth. Are you sure you want to do this here? Where else? Tyler's been lying to me for 2 years. Your father just called him his only successful child while you, the one who actually saves lives, stand in the corner. I almost died, Myra. I promised myself I would never waste time on things that weren't real. Tyler isn't real. But you, what you did for me was real. She walked toward the stage. The MC tapped the microphone. Our beautiful bride-to-be would like to say a few words. Rachel adjusted the microphone. 150 guests turned their attention to her. Thank you all for being here. Before I talk about Tyler, I want to share something personal. 3 years ago, I was in a car accident. I was rushed to Johns Hopkins. The doctors told my parents I had a 20% chance of surviving the night. She paused. But I did survive, because of one person, an extraordinary surgeon who operated on me for 7 hours and refused to give up. She looked directly at me. That surgeon is in this room tonight. Her name is Dr. Myra Mercer. She's a cardiothoracic surgeon at Johns Hopkins Hospital. She's also Tyler's sister. The silence exploded into whispers. 150 heads swiveled in my direction. I didn't know this until tonight. Tyler never mentioned it. In fact, his family introduced her to me as someone who works in administration. But that's not true. Dr. Mercer isn't an administrator, she's a brilliant surgeon. The woman who gave me a second chance at life. Rachel's voice sharpened. A few minutes ago, Miss Mercer stood on this stage and called Tyler his only successful child. I'd like someone to explain how that makes sense. My father stood frozen. Tyler looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. Rachel looked at me again. Myra, would you please come up here? I'd like everyone to meet the woman who made my future possible. Every eye was on me. I walked through the parted crowd, my heels clicking against the marble. I climbed the steps and stood beside Rachel. She reached for my hand and squeezed it. From the crowd, a man called out, "Dr. Mercer?" I attended your presentation at the American Heart Association conference. Your research on mitral valve repair was exceptional. More murmurs, more turning heads. Rachel leaned into the microphone. For those who don't know, Dr. Mercer is board certified in cardiothoracic surgery. She's published in peer-reviewed journals. She's saved countless lives, including mine. She turned to my father. Mr. Mercer, why did you tell this room that Tyler is your only successful child? Your daughter is standing right here. She's accomplished more than most people will in a lifetime. The truth doesn't need to be weaponized. It just needs to be spoken. My father's mouth opened and closed. This is hardly the time or place. It seems like exactly the right time, Rachel said calmly. You chose to celebrate Tyler's success publicly. Why can't we acknowledge Myra's? Someone in the back started clapping. Then another. Then another. Half the room was applauding. Rachel handed me the microphone. I stood there, looking out at the sea of faces. I could have destroyed my father right there. But that wasn't who I wanted to be. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, everyone. I didn't come here expecting any of this. I came because Tyler is my brother, and I wanted to wish him well. That's it. I didn't come to cause drama. I paused. But I also won't pretend to be something I'm not. I'm not an administrator. I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon. I've spent 12 years training for this career, funded entirely on my own. I don't need anyone's validation. But I also won't stand quietly while the people who should have supported me pretend I don't exist. I stepped back from the microphone. That's when Tyler lost control. Tyler stormed onto the stage, his face red. "Are you serious right now?" he shouted. "This is my engagement party, and you just had to make it about you, didn't you?" "I didn't do anything, Tyler." Rachel asked me a question and I answered honestly. "Honestly?" He laughed bitterly. "You want to talk about honesty? Fine, let's talk about how you abandoned this family, Tyler." My voice cut through his tirade like a scalpel. "When were you going to tell everyone you dropped out of your residency 2 years ago?" The room went absolutely still. "You're not becoming a doctor, Tyler. You're a pharmaceutical sales rep. You have been for 2 years. Dad's $180,000 and you couldn't even finish." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Rachel stepped forward and slowly, deliberately pulled the engagement ring from her finger. "I asked you one thing, Tyler, one thing. Please never lie to me." She placed the ring in his trembling hand. "You've been lying to me since the day we met." She walked off the stage without looking back. My father finally moved. He climbed the stage steps slowly, like a man walking toward his own sentencing. "Tyler, we'll discuss this at home," he said, his voice low. "Everyone, please, this is a misunderstanding." "A misunderstanding?" Dr. Brennan stepped forward. "Harold, your daughter is one of the most respected cardiothoracic surgeons on the East Coast. And you've been telling everyone she's an administrator?" My father turned to me, his face a mix of anger and something I'd never seen before. "Fear. You made it the place, Dad," I said, "when you stood up there and called Tyler your only successful child. You don't understand the pressure he's been under." "Pressure? You paid for his entire education. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through school. I earned everything I have with no help from you. That was your choice." "No, that was your choice. You decided I didn't deserve support because I was born a girl. I'm not asking for an apology. I stopped waiting for that years ago. But I won't let you erase me anymore." In the chaos, I hadn't noticed my mother approaching. She climbed onto the stage, something I'd never seen her do. "Myra," she said. "I'm so sorry." The words hung in the air. "I knew what you accomplished," she continued, her voice trembling. "I followed your career from a distance. I read about your research. Then why didn't you ever say anything?" "Because I was afraid. Afraid of your father. Afraid of admitting I failed you. You were 18 years old, and I let him tell you that you didn't matter." Her voice broke. "I should have stood up for you. I should have protected you. And you had to protect yourself." She reached for my hands. "The woman you became, you did that alone. Despite us, not because of us. I'm so proud of you, Myra. I should have said it years ago." I felt tears threatening to fall. The first I'd allowed myself in a long time. "Thank you, Mom. That means more than you know." She pulled me into a real hug, the kind I hadn't felt since I was a child. I held my mother for a long moment, then gently stepped back. The ballroom was emptying. Tyler had disappeared. I looked at my father, who still stood on the stage, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "I should go," I told my mother. She nodded. "Will you call me soon?" "Yes, I'll call." As I descended the stage, Rachel intercepted me near the door. "Myra, wait." Her eyes were dry now. "I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to. You saved yourself tonight. You chose truth over comfort. That takes courage." She smiled weakly. 3 years ago, when I woke up, you told me something. You said, "The hardest part is over. Now all you have to do is live." I think I finally understand what you meant. I hugged her briefly. "Take care of yourself, Rachel. You're going to be okay." I walked out into the cool night air. The automatic doors closed behind me, muffling the murmurs. I took a deep breath. For the first time in 12 years, my chest didn't feel tight. I had stood my ground. I could go home. A lot can change in a week. Rachel called off the engagement. She texted me the next morning, "Thank you for telling me the truth." Starting over is scary, but it's better than living a lie. Tyler finally confessed to my parents. According to my mother, my father cut off his financial support until he has a real plan for his life. Ironic, considering he never gave me any support to cut off. My mother started therapy. My father agreed to a session. I'm not holding my breath for a transformation, but the fact that he's trying is more than I ever expected. As for me, I went back to work. The Monday after the party, I had a double bypass scheduled. When the patient's heart started beating on its own again, I felt that familiar surge of purpose. This is why I do what I do, not for recognition, but for second chances. A text buzzed in my locker from a number I didn't recognize. "This is your father. Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed back, "When you're ready to listen, I'll be here." You might think this story ends with a tearful reconciliation. That's not how real life works. I'm still figuring out what my relationship with my family looks like. Maybe we'll find our way back to something healthy. Maybe we won't. Either way, I've made peace with it. Here's what I learned. You cannot control how other people see you. You can only control who you are. I spent too many years waiting for my father to be proud of me, hoping one more achievement would finally make him see me. But some people aren't capable of seeing beyond their own expectations. That's not your failure. It's theirs. The real victory wasn't the standing ovation. It was the moment I realized I didn't need anyone's approval to know my own value. If you recognize yourself in my story, the overlooked daughter, the underestimated child, please hear me. You are enough. You always were. Don't wait for them to see it. See it in yourself. Setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting people off forever. It means saying, "I love you, but I will not let you hurt me anymore." It means protecting the life you've built, even from the people who were supposed to help you build it. Thank you for staying with me. If this resonated with you, please leave a comment. Tell me your story. And if you enjoyed this, please like this video and subscribe to Mind Unveiled Stories for more content like this. Take care of yourselves. You're worth it.